Chris Eubank Jr. said he want to get a piece of that action. He wants the winner of Charlo versus Derevyanchenko. We gonna talk about it. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. Let's get it. Chris Eubank did an interview with Premier Boxing Champs PBC podcast. He says in regards to Charlo versus Derevyanchenko, which is in the same division that he fights in. For a minute, he moved up to 168, but he's back at 160. He said that's where he can still make the weight. His body fits there. And Chris Eubank had this to say, and I quote, he said, "I'll be watching that fight very closely because I'm looking to fight the winner. I want anyone with the belt in the middleweight or super middleweight division, wherever the opportunity lies. That fight is definitely interesting to me. It interests me." He says, "There have been a lot of improvements since I began working with Roy Jones Jr. Footwork, movement, jabbing. There are so many things like that at the elite level you forget to work on, like the fundamentals. It's the small things that actually count, and that's something that I've learned from Roy. That makes you a complete fighter." And he was talking about the Charlo-Derevyanchenko fight. He said, "Listen, Charlo has done what he has done and had to do to get the belt, and I respected that. I respect any man who gets in the ring and handles his business. Sure, he can scrap. He's not afraid to go toe-to-toe. He has an energy about him which has helped him to get where he's at. But as far as what he brings to the table, it don't impress me. It does not impress me. Doesn't impress me," says Chris Eubank. He goes on to say, "I don't see any danger in what he brings to the ring. Derevyanchenko is not particularly fast or strong, but he's solid and he's not afraid." Now, my opinion, I disagree with Chris Eubank Jr. I think that a lot of what Charlo does is dangerous and it's impressive to me. And I do think Derevyanchenko, he has cool speed. He's not, Gary Russell Jr. or something, but he got good speed, like good. It's not below average speed, nothing like that. And he said he's not particularly strong. I do think Derevyanchenko is strong, both strong to muscle around and strong-minded. So all the way around strong. He got dropped in the Jacobs fight, dropped in the Triple G fight, and he came back swinging and battling and made those fights interesting. I thought he definitely won the Triple G fight. So listen, it don't matter. Everybody got an opinion. But my thing is this. PBC has done a phenomenal job of building what I call a succession plan and fights to look forward to. And you see it in motion. It's like, yeah, you have Chris Eubank weighing in, giving his thoughts, yada, yada, yada. But he's definitely a fighter that could fight the winner of this fight. So, they really we have to see how the Derevyanchenko Charlo goes because, boxing sometimes leads to sequels and rematches and trilogies and things like that. But even if Charlo gets past Derevyanchenko clean, vice versa, the winner can definitely fight Chris Eubank. So you got with so much talent in these talent pools and the way they're matchmaking at PBC, you have so many opportunities to, like in the divisions that are primarily stacked by PBC, like 154, 147, and 160 has some great options as well now, 168. And it becomes good because you got fights like, let's say Errol Spence. Errol Spence could fight Sean Porter rematch, right? He's fighting Danny Garcia, but he could still rematch Sean Porter if he gets past Danny Garcia. He could fight a brand new character like Ugas or someone he hasn't fought, Pacquiao. But he still has lucrative rematches. He could fight Keith Thurman. Same thing with Sean Porter. Sean Porter could fight Pacquiao. That's a brand new match. Or he could fight rematches with Danny Garcia, rematch with Keith Thurman, rematch with Errol. So it's the same situation here. There's like something to look forward to. Now I want to watch Charlo-Derevyanchenko even more because I know that Chris Eubank is talking like this and talking spicy, and he says he wants to fight the winner. So right then and there, you have a way this could go depending on what happens in that fight. Now, Chris Eubank hasn't sounded particularly fond of Charlo, and that's cool because Charlo has a good energy and a charisma about him, and we're not used to hearing people down talk Charlo. So to see Chris Eubank taking this approach, it makes it interesting. I was left unsatisfied and unfulfilled with his last fight with Matt Korobov because Korobov, he got some type of shoulder injury and he was forced to, canceled the bout and like couldn't continue. So I didn't really get to see, because he was doing good in the first round, Matt Korobov, and he was blasting Chris Eubank with a lot of straight lefts and stuff like that, but it ended in an untraditional way. So I would have liked to see that continue, to see how it would have played out. But this is a great fight. Chris Eubank can definitely fight the winner of this. He can fight against a guy like Charlo or Derevyanchenko, whoever wins that. He said even at 168, I mean, you got Caleb Plant up there, David Benavidez. I mean, it's just a lot of options. You know, Jose Uzcategui, stuff like that. So I like it because this is why we watch boxing, for the storylines. And like I said, the succession plan. There's a lot of promoters and the fights are like willy-nilly. Like beating this guy doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't really advance you in the division. It doesn't tell us more about you, stuff like that. Fights like that, it's harder to keep up with the sport. But when there's great fights, the best versus the best and stuff like that, and then there's people peeking in and watching you, that's what makes it interesting. I remember Danny Garcia was in the crowd for the Lucas Matisse versus Lamont Peterson fight as an interested spectator, right? So when Matisse knocked out Peterson, Danny Garcia got up and, you know, gave a round of applause. The Showtime cameras or whatever showed that and captured that. The PBC, the camera crew captured Danny Garcia, and then they end up fighting on one of the biggest cards in the last decade or so with Mayweather Canelo. So that was a cracking fight at 140 that needed to happen and people were checking for. So it helps you build up to that. Or when Brandon Rios got knocked out by Danny Garcia, Sean Porter and his dad, Kenny Porter, came in the ring and they were barking and they called out Danny Garcia to his face. Or when Danny won in Philly versus Samuel Vargas and Keith Thurman was a commentator, and then Thurman and Garcia got in the ring yelling at each other. We've seen this with Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz. Wilder went to Luis Ortiz's fight. He had a smaller fight on PBC, and then Wilder and Luis Ortiz had this exchange, and then they end up fighting. You see what I'm saying? So I like it, and this is no different. Chris Eubank and Charlo, I want to see that. That's a great fight. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know what you feel. Is it a good fight? Who wins, Charlo-Derevyanchenko? I also dropped the Ego Weight Watchers video on Charlo. He's in amazing shape, so keep it locked. I'll be building up these fights on the channel. I'll drop daily content. Shout out to everybody on the channel member side of YouTube and the Patreon. I got stuff in the works, and we'll do more of the group session. Pause. Let's go. Let me know what you think of Chris Eubank's comments. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, is Ego signing off.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.